Hi, Cancer. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for November of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco, California.
Hey, Cancer. This month's horoscope, the focus is on your productivity and work life. If you'd like further insight on your career, you can get it in a mission orders reading. There's a link for that in the text that comes with this video. Well, the good news that I have for you is that Juno, which was retrograde last month and for several months, is finally done with this prolonged relationship retrospection period that we've all been involved in. It's been a little bit dramatic in our relationships, but if you did experience relationship drama, just know that things can settle into a pattern now going forward, and we can all chill about that. Juno has been retrograde in your 9th house, so there may have been some freedom-seeking behavior in your relationship on the part of you or your partner, looking for more space, or potentially feeling stagnant, like the relationship is stagnant. And if that's the case, then I hope that you found ways to have adventures with your partner, or possibly one of you may have adventured outside the relationship. And if that happened, you should probably check our videos about this Juno retrograde, because you'll learn more about this Juno in Pisces and what it's felt like and how to handle it. And you'll find that on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, in the playlists for July, September, and October news. Well, Ceres is in Virgo all month, traveling along through your 3rd house, which might lead to overthinking and overanalyzing your finances. It's never a bad time for a spreadsheet, that's true, but it is possible to lose the forest for the trees. And getting your finances organized is certainly a good idea, but there comes a point when you just have to put the spreadsheet down and remember that it is possible to overthink these things and overanalyze them. So hopefully you've been doing some of that analysis last month, and you will continue doing it this month. And then you have a chance of getting things really, really shipshape, which is great. But if it makes your eyes bug out, I would say a break is in order. Jupiter starts the month retrograde in Pisces, which is in your 9th house. And Jupiter loves to be in the 9th house. So this is a great time for growth and expansion. It's also a great time for marketing, sales, promotion, coming up with campaigns for those things relative to your business if you run one. And Jupiter is going to turn direct this month on November 23rd in this house. And so if you are developing campaigns like that or involved in a growth process, then November 23rd should be a really great time when things can move forward at a pretty good pace. Hey, Julia, I know you've got news about Mars retrograde. What's that stuff?
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, hey there, Cancer. Mars is the planet that represents our activity. Wherever we have it is where we can be very driven. It's also a planet that's very passionate and sometimes a little feisty and angry too. And Mars is having a retrograde cycle now. It's going to be retrograde all month and beyond. And Mars goes retrograde about once every 2 years, so far less frequently than Mercury retrograde, which happens about every three times a year, let's say. And anytime a planet is retrograde, all that means is that from our perspective on Earth, it appears to be moving backwards in the sky. Now, this is an optical illusion. We all know from science class in high school that all the planets are moving in a forward direction at all time, but it is something which is very significant to astrology. So this Mars retrograde cycle is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is a very diffuse place. It's a very mysterious place. It's a very isolated place. And with Mars retrograde in this house, you might find that you sort of you're sort of driven to spend more time on your own. Now, since Mars is retrograde, and this house is also known as the house of self-undoing, you have to be careful that any actions that you take this month, especially if they're not sort of in the light of day to other people, that they don't sort of end up sabotaging you in some way. So this Mars retrograde cycle, be particularly wary if you feel like doing something a little underhanded or deceptive, or acting behind someone's back, or, expressing a lot of anger in indirect ways. Be a little extra cautious, because you might have to sort of go back over those actions again. Now, Mars retrograde, because this is a very spiritual house, it could be a good time for going back to something that you find spiritually significant that maybe you haven't done in a while. So for example, if you like meditating and yoga, but you haven't really done it for a number of months, then this can be a wonderful time to sort of go back and start redoing those types of things. Now, Mercury, the planet that represents our mind, starts the month in your 5th house. We have a concentration of 5th house stuff for the first half of the month, because Venus will also be in there, and I'll talk about her in a little bit. But the 5th house is a super fun house. It represents games, diversions, hobbies, creativity, children, and dating. So for the first half of the month, you might be if you're single, you might be thinking a lot about dating. Maybe you're just talking about it more with your friends, or thinking about more about it on your own. And Mercury in the 5th house, because Mercury is a planet that actually loves playing games. It's a bit of a trickster planet, and this house rules games. Your mind could just be on sort of fun, like computer games, or, if you play any games that involve your mind in any way, like chess or like word games, this would be a good time for it. Also a wonderful time to do creative writing, because this is a creative house and Mercury rules writing. Then on November 8th, Mercury is going to exactly conjoin the sun. We call that Greater Epiphany Day, and it's a time of insights and revelations. And since this is happening in your 5th house, you might be getting some insights into your dating life. Like, you might be, let's say you're dating a few people, you might think to yourself, this is the one person I actually really want to focus on right now. Or maybe you're having some insights because you've been single for a while, and you're like, you know what, actually, I do want to get back to dating again. This is also a house that rules children. So you could be having some revelations about the children in your life, or even thinking about having them, if that's something that you've been introspective about lately. Then on November 17th, Mercury enters your 6th house. Mercury loves being in this house because it's naturally ruled by Virgo. And this house represents the order in your life, your routines, your organization, your workplace, your health. So with Mercury in the 6th house, it's a good time to get your routines and health in order. If you have some organizing to do in your life, you can really kind of go at it with a very clear strategic mind. And it's a time of increased communication at your workplace. So maybe talking more with your boss, your coworkers, socializing with them a bit more as well. And then Venus, I said I'd talk about her. Everybody loves Venus because she represents relationships, and she starts the month in your 5th house. Again, house of fun, creativity, dating, and children. So with Venus in the 5th for the first half of the month, really, really good time to get out there and date if you are single, and Mercury, is giving you some of those revelations about your dating life too. Venus in the 5th is also a great time for getting along well with your children if you have them, really enjoying them, feeling proud of them, feeling harmony with them. And Venus in the 5th house is such a creative transit. So whether you're doing creative writing or crafting or something else artsy, lovely time for it. Then on November 15th, Venus is going to be in the 6th house. So second half of the month, we're kind of putting our focus on 6th house stuff with Venus also and Mercury in there. And this is a time of getting along really well with the people you work with. It's also a time for finding joy and pleasure in your habits. So for the second half of the month, Cancer, think about some habits, some new, if you need to discipline yourself in any sort of routines like exercise or eating or organizing your home, the second half of the month is going to be great for it. Also a nice time for your health. If you deal with anything chronic, Venus does like to indulge a little bit. So sometimes keeping up with a diet can be a little hard with Venus in the sixth house. And the sixth house also rules your pets too. So if you do have any pets, you're going to be feeling, a lot of they're going to be just more fun, and you'll be having a lot more sort of pleasure hanging around your kitties and dogs or horses or lizards, whatever you have.
Lovely. Well, I want to tell you about the moons happening this month. We have the last moon of this eclipse season. The previous moon was last month. This is a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, which lands in your 11th house of community, friends, tribe, groups, people of like mind that you feel a sense of belonging with, whether that's, again, personally or professionally. The full moon brings high emotion, and a lunar eclipse brings up the kinds of emotions that we often find embarrassing, the darker emotions, the more uncomfortable emotions. And so some of that may crop up in your friendships, either in the form of an experience that you have with a friend, a connection that you have with a friend, possibly the friend themselves may have those kind of emotions pop up. They may be your emotions, but any way you look at it, there may be some stirring of the pot that happens here right around November 8th with this full moon lunar eclipse happening in your house of friends. Then we have the seasonal change. The sun changes houses and moves on from your 5th house into your 6th house right here. And Julia was right. There's a lot of energy and planetary placements here in your 5th house early in the month, bringing the emphasis to fun and play and pleasure and entertainment. But later in the month, there's a gathering of planets here in your 6th house, which shifts the energy towards work, health, service, and personal organization. The sun in particular is about where to put your attention, because your attention is like sunlight. When you spread it around, it helps things to flourish and grow. And the 6th house being the house of the workplace and the rhythms and the systems and the routines and the organizational structures that you have there, putting some high quality attention on that stuff for the month of Sagittarius is really an advantage. And that means for the 30 days after the sun moves into Sagittarius, which is November 22nd. So definitely reorganize things, clean up your desk, clean up your computer desktop, file some stuff that's been lying around, deal with those paper piles during this 30-day period. Then the last thing I want to tell you about is the last of this month's moons, which is not an eclipse because eclipse season finished with that full moon earlier in the month. This one comes on November 23rd. The moon joins the sun, Venus, and Mercury here in your 6th house, bringing a busload of positivity. This moon is in Sagittarius, which is already an ebullient, effervescent, bouncy sign to begin with. But it also includes a lovely trine over here to Jupiter in Jupiter's own sign of Pisces, where he loves to be, and also drawing on the wisdom of Pallas Athena over here, forming a grand trine to this moon. New moons are great times for planting seeds. So this could be a really great time for planting the seeds of order or planting positive seeds in your work environment, among the people that you know there and the people that you work with every day. So this moon, we're calling it the wisdom of foolish hope, because it's all about that very Sagittarian thing of overshooting. When you shoot for the moon, your arrow isn't going to hit it, but where it lands is so much further than it would have been if you hadn't put some foolish hopes into it in the first place. This is a really great moon for manifesting. And if you wanted to manifest a new job where you can be happy and feel like you can grow and expand, this is a really great moon for putting that out into the universe so it can come back to you. Well, Cancer, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can find out more about this month's moons and Mars retrograde on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the forecast tab. And on our website, you can book a reading with us or take a class. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.